Welcome to the Refueling Station Live, where leaders of color can gain inspiration to live, be, and do well. I am thrilled to have you join me today as we discuss. I hope you're discussing this with me in the comments. The fascinating topic of ego. And yes, as I was typing this, I'm hearing our Queen Beyonce's version. I got a big ego. Well, that was a fun song to sing, and still the jam, still on my playlist, but it doesn't do well for us as leaders. So, we're going to broach the subject of how ego impacts our leadership, our personal growth, and we'll uncover the sneaky ways the ego can manifest itself in our lives, burn us out, and hinder our effectiveness as leaders and as people in general. So, whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're a returning viewer, I ask you to sit back, relax, take some notes if you want to, and engage with me in the comments as I share some valuable insights, practical tips, and inspiring stories that help you thrive in all areas. And if you are on this personal professional journey and you feel like you're stuck and you're ready to take the next level, you just don't know what that is, be sure to stick around because I have a great surprise for you as I want to invite you or introduce you to my signature program, Revive and Thrive. But you got to stay after the video. I hope you are, this reels you in, us talking about ego, and you stick around for my exclusive offer. So let's get into it. What is ego? We often can probably pinpoint a leader of our time, a boss that we've had, and it's just like, oh, he's on a power trip, she's on a power trip. He or she let his or their ego get the best of them. They are not the most friendliest people. They are probably a pain to work for. I know you don't have this issue because you're here at the refueling station. I'm talking about other leaders, other people, not you, right? And so I wanted to add this to my lineup of topics because it was something as I was processing a year before I actually transitioned to be a full-time entrepreneur. I was processing all my fears, my thoughts, hesitations, any issues that could probably get my way, any thought pattern, mindsets, anything like that. I was processing it all because I knew I wanted to be of sound mind and position myself mentally to succeed in a place that scares me, in a place where I've never been. I've always been a solo part-time entrepreneur, but not a full-time entrepreneur. And so as I was thinking about and processing where's my fear coming from, it really ended up being my ego. After I went through a series of questions, I asked myself, what are you scared of? I'm scared of, are you scared of failing? Yes and no. I said I was fearful of trying things and things not working. Okay. Everybody has to do that. Um, what else are you scared of? I'm scared if it doesn't work, what will people say about me? I'm scared that if I keep trying and keep trying, I'm going to find out that nobody wants my services, nobody's interested in these topics, nobody's going to invite me to speak or want me to be their coach. Okay. But at the end of all those questions, I realized that it was really my ego that was fearful of being hurt. It was fearful of me, one, having to take so much effort and energy to try to figure out and actually do the work. In the end, I felt lazy. Not felt, I knew it was laziness to say, hey, you are really avoiding the real work that most people take to be successful in a business as an entrepreneur. They try some more, they switch strategies, they do this, they do that. I knew at the end I wanted to be a one stop shop. I wanted to upload a YouTube video and immediately get 1,000 subscribers. I wanted to put out a post that said, "Hey, I'm open for booking," and a lot of people knocking down my door. I wanted to put on events that everybody's gonna be on the wait list for. I just really wanted the easy way. And at the end of the day, it was really my ego that was afraid to get hurt. And for me, it's like ego is really just a mental thing. I I'm not physically hurt. I'm still gonna live, but at the end of the day, my ego was what was hindering me from really mentally going forward and really embracing with joy and anticipation and eagerness to take on the challenge. So what is ego exactly? Ego is the psychological construct that represents the person's sense of self and identity. It encompasses thoughts and beliefs, emotions, perceptions that contribute to one's self-image and how they relate to the world around them. It also plays a central part to our behaviors and interactions with others, and it influences how we as individuals perceive ourselves. We we even interpret experiences through our ego, navigate social dynamics. And so this is ego plays a big part in how we want others to see us and how we see ourselves. So how does this manifest in leadership? Besides being a mean old boss or ego tripping boss who just takes all the credit and blame and none of the blame, how does it how does it manifest? What are the signs that you are ego tripping leader, or they are? Because remember, it's not you, it's other people, right? Perfectionism. So ego driven leaders may exhibit perfectionist tendencies, and I have a video that you can where I talk about overcoming perfectionism. So, ego-driven leaders show signs of perfectionism. They set impossibly high standards for themselves and others, and when they fail to do it, it is finger pointing every other way. They have no kind of locus of control. They don't look inward, they look outward for the blame, inward for the credit, outward for the blame. And this can lead to unrealistic expectations, fear of failure, and the inability to delegate or trust others. If you are a leader who tends to and it takes self-reflection. We'll talk about that later. But you really have to take some time to really be self-aware, because that ego can really slip up and you say, "Oh, it's my high standards. I only want the best, excellence. I'm really pushing people forward." But that attitude of perfectionism and not giving grace will alienate your whole team. And if you're building a workplace or org or business where people are scared to fail because they are afraid of what may happen to their jobs and their livelihood is on the line, this leads to a toxic workplace. Ego, perfectionism, all of these things lead to a toxic workplace. And another sign, resistance to feedback. If you're an ego driven leader, you may struggle to accept criticism. And although people say, "Oh, wait, I've learned to like criticism and feedback." That is one of the ways of my self regulation, of me taming that perfectionism beast down. And so, even though I cringe to hear it sometimes, as a person with a growth mindset, you have to run to feedback no matter how bad in your mind you think it may be. But you need it. But if you're an ego driven leader, you don't want feedback. You never ask your staff how you can improve your job. As their leader, you're always going to grade them. And you're never going to look again inward to see what behaviors or thought patterns led to your outcomes. It's always uh, taking criticism is a threat to you. Like anything they say that's not great is a threat. So this is also going to hinder personal and professional growth. Easy. Nobody can tell you anything. You're never wrong. Everybody's always wrong. You're always right. And they're just hating on you. All of this stuff, Resistance to feedback leads back to ego. Another sign, and I know everybody knows this one, a micromanager. Ego driven leaders are micromanagers because they have to get it done their way. Their way is the only way. Their way is the only right way. Their way is the only going to measure up to the standard of excellence they set. And so they don't want to delegate. And when they do, they're going to look over your shoulder to make sure it's done their way. So, ego driven leaders may engage in micromanagement, excessive control over tasks and processes. It really is to just dominate their importance. And it's one of those fake leadership. I, I hate that it's sometimes it's attached to that executive presence, which I hate that term. I hate the old term. I'm working to redefine it. But the only way you can show your be a leader is to make sure you're noticed in a room and you're important, and the way you exert your importance and your sense of authority is that you got to point that finger and you got to be mean and have no kind of sense of filter of how you talk to people and how you give direction and their feedback. And so micromanagement, that is a when I say a morale killer, that is one of the most reported signs of burnout is a micromanaging boss. If you are in a micromanaging situation or under the leadership of an ego driven person, you'll probably feel like your creativity is stifled, your autonomy is stifled, you are paranoid, you can't get anything done, you're disgusted because things don't move because they always got to go through this one person. And that's going to say, hey, no matter what I do, it's not going to be good enough for them. And so you're going to be disengaged and your productivity is going to decrease. And that's when you start going to into that cycle of burnout because that detachment from your work and that low morale is just the start of it. So, we talked about how ego itself in leadership. How does ego lead to burnout? And so, if you are new here, haven't seen my videos, burnout is the phenomena or occurrence that we it's workplace, but for leaders of color, people of color could just be life, all of it together, right? So burnout is when you are depleted emotionally, physically, everything. You're just exhausted. It's a fatigue you cannot sleep away. Your morale for work is low. You're disengaged. You're pessimistic. You're paranoid. It could manifest as anxiety and depression. You start to have doubts about your ability to do the work that you were once passionate and felt qualified to do. All of that is burnout, and it can lead to health, mental and physical health illnesses. It's a bad situation. 75% of the world has experienced burnout at some point in time. About that many currently report that they are in the cycle of burnout. So, how does ego contribute to burnout? This is really good because this is one of the things I had to help myself understand. So, one, going back to that P word, perfectionism, ego driven individuals, because they feel pressure to maintain a certain image of perfection and they do it at all costs, they're often going to be highly anxious and excessively stressed. that that excessive stress is the hallmark. That long-term stress is a hallmark of burnout. The resistance to seek help and support leads to feelings of overwhelm, isolation, which can also exacerbate burnout. They don't want any help. I can do it myself. I'll just do this project because I'm the only one who knows how to do it right. Listen to those things in your own life. Have you ever said that? Especially if you're a business owner, if you are executive leader, director, or manager, if you're taking on your staff's projects because you one don't have the patience or the time to help them coach them through it or give them the tools to do it, you're weakening their respect and their trust in you, but you're also overwhelming yourself because you're you're saying I got to do everybody's work. No, you don't have to. You chose to do everybody's work because you didn't have the patience or resolve or the determination to help your staff do what they need to do in their own project. So this leads to burnout, that overwork, inability to set boundaries. This is how ego driven individuals find themselves in burnout because they're not setting boundaries or saying no to additional responsibilities to help inflate their importance and authority and how they want people to see them. They want to always be shown in a good light. They have no boundaries. So when you have no boundaries, you have no structure in your life. And because you're compelled to constantly prove yourself to others, you're going to always be overworked, exhausted, busy doing nothing, which means ripping and running. I know y'all all know what that means. And when you are ripping and running and busy doing nothing, you neglect your personal well-being, which should be aligned with ego because ego is all about self. But when we don't flip the script on that, we'll find ourselves burning our own selves out, which fuels that whole perfectionism, anxiety. We're all right back there, right? The need to control also leads to overwork, exhaustion, same thing. That micromanagement style, it actually bounces back on you. If you don't trust your team is not going to perform at their 100%. They're not performing at 100%. It's going to be hard for you to show that you're a dedicated leader. And now you've taken on more work yourself, and you're taking on the work from your team. You're going to ultimately be overworked. When if you let your team do what they need to do and empower them to do what they need to do, your plate will be clear for you to just lead and do your part of what you have to do. But that need to control will burn you out all the time. When you just say, okay, I'll just do this little PowerPoint. I'll just send this little this. I'll just do this. I'll just do that. That little I'll do, it could be 5 minutes. It could be an hour. That just piles on the list of things that you're responsible for. So even if it doesn't take a day or two, or you feel like it's minor, it's going to have an emotional toll of you just saying, I have a laundry list of things to do. I'm tired. I don't have the energy to do it. That mindset is overwhelming in itself. And lastly, the fear of failure, rejection leads to burnout because you are emotionally burnout. That's rejection and failure is an emotional hurt. And so ego driven leaders, they fear failure and rejection send them into a downward spiral. Like they're depressed, but then they're highly anxious because they're trying to keep up this ego, this picture perfect fairy tale that they created in the mind about themselves. And so this fear can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and again, that constant need to prove themselves, which can deplete you mentally and emotionally. And when you're mentally and emotionally burned out, that's really hard to cut. And you can't exercise or eat that out. You can't diet that away. That takes some real soul care. But you can find that video on my YouTube if you're interested in understanding the difference between self-care and soul care. So how do you combat this ego? I will always say this, it's easier said than done, but it's definitely possible. But it really does take that self-awareness piece to a whole nother level. You have to call yourself to the table and analyze things from others' perspective. And you have to question. I question myself often. Aaron, is this your ego talking? Is this louder than your own goals and desires? So, one thing again, self awareness, journaling, thinking, processing with a coach or a therapist. I've done all of these things, especially in, like I said, preparation for the transition and just to make me, to help me have a sound mind in going forth in this entrepreneurship journey. So it was all about processing and thinking through my fear. Every time I have that feeling in the pit of my stomach, I say, Aaron, what's going on? What are you really fearing? And once I ask myself some questions, I ultimately find the answer. Practicing humility, because I was always the smart girl with a smart mouth. That's why I'm quiet. If you know me offline, Aaron can be quiet. I'm quiet because I know I have a smart mouth. And then my mama checked me as a preteen, and I probably never said anything else again because I knew I had a smart mouth. And I hate when people tell me something. It's that something. I really do hate it. But just because I hate it doesn't mean it has to be my default. I'll override that by asking proactively for feedback. Even in me trying out new things and having to go back to maybe potential clients that didn't come and take advantage of my services, or people after a webinar who didn't respond to my special offer. I have to push myself to say, hey, I saw you didn't do this. What was what changed? What changed your mind? What were you thinking there? When I say my heart beats so fast because I don't like feedback, that is pure ego leading me, and ultimately could prevent me from finding out real data that could help me improve to become who I really want to. But I have to practice humility and say, hey, I don't want these people to connect with me to invest their time and their money with me and get on my high horse and say, well, I don't know. You should. That's your problem if you don't want this. No, you have to practice humility. Just simply let down your guard and here process it and apply it. If it does not resonate, or you can, if it's just something that they said from their eyes and point of view and it maybe doesn't affect you, let it go. But at least you have to entertain some of the entertain feedback. But that really has to, you really have to be humble to do that. And lastly, you must foster empathy. Empathy is understanding the other person's point of view and their path. You have to understand where people are coming from in the process. And most times, leaders are not empathetic. They forget that they were once supervised by a horrible boss, or they forget that they were once new staff or frontline staff. They forget how it feels to have a year's worth of work thrown out the door because somebody changed strategies without even considering the repercussions. And so you have to develop a sense of empathy for the people that you lead. If I'm in their shoes and I'm actually walking in their shoes and I'm seeing this from their point of view, what are they feeling? What are they saying to themselves? What are they doing? If you can't foster empathy, one, you must be self-compassion, give yourself grace, but then you also have to flip that and turn that back to the people you're leading. So those are some ways where you could tame the beast of your ego. I'm interested to see. Drop down in the comments for me whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook or IG or LinkedIn. I invite you to reflect on your own experiences on your ego and share any insights or strategies you found helpful of overcoming its negative effects. You can, if you don't feel comfortable, I just want to talk to people. So you DM me, email me, anything. I would love to know your feedback. See, I would love to hear your feedback on this content. But thank you. We've come to another end of another video together. Thank you so much for joining me. And as promised, I promised to tell you about my signature program that I'm really excited about. It's called Revive and Thrive. It is a group coaching program. I pulled all elements from my live experiences and retreats, my workshops, my group coaching, my one to one, all the things that I knew worked and I knew that my clients were impacted by. I put them all in one experience so I can help people from across the country, even the world, revive and thrive, meaning exiting burnout or getting unstuck in your personal and professional career and thriving on all fronts. So, this is not just a leadership program that's career focused. I'm really passionate about making sure leadership development includes personal development. If you're not a well and whole person, all the way around, you're not going to be a pleasant and a transformational leader. And when you're not a good leader, you don't get good results, and your career and your impact could stall. So, Revive and Thrive is for change agents of color, it's for social impact leaders of color. This means educators, executive directors, nonprofit leaders, small business leaders, anyone who feels like they need a personal and professional recharge and you're looking for some direction. So this isn't, like I said, just a leadership program. We're looking at how can we work together to make sure you are at your best personally and professionally. Anything that you want to do that you're scared to move on will be addressed in the Wise Winning Action Plan. And so I've had some people to enroll, and I'm really excited about working with them to do another step in their new entrepreneurship venture. There's some people who are looking to see what their next phase is in their career transition and their life transition. So I'm really excited. Whatever you have, and if you have a really big idea or you know you need a really big change and you're really scared to do it, but you're miserable where you are, this is the program for you. Revive and Thrive, time limited discount all of March. You get an incredible price. It's really important to invest in yourself. I know how it is to say, I don't know if it works for me. I don't know if I want to pay. When I decided to invest in myself in coaching and making the leap to get mentorship and help and not isolate myself and try to do it by myself, I really saw a difference in my life. So, offering the same opportunity to you to invest in yourself and transform your personal and professional life, this is my invitation to you. Revive and Thrive. You can find it. I'm going to add it to the screen. There we go. So you can schedule a call, talk to me about it. We can go through the program. Or if you just want an executive coach, you don't know where to start. If you want to know what the process is, the coaching sessions are like, what it has done for others, schedule discovery call for me with me, and a lot of people come with clarity from that first little call. I really enjoy helping people, and it comes through on your first call with me, but I would love if we would take the journey together. It's really hard to change your mindset and get out of and unlearn and get out of your own way, and coaching has really helped me, and it's helped all my clients achieve their personal professional best. So thank you so much for joining. I will catch you later. Take care and continue to thrive.